Hello, my name is Soraya and I am one of the managers of Provider Relations at Integrated Support Plus. During this PowerPoint presentation, I will be going over what you can expect from working with Integrated Support Plus and completing orthotic brace consultations. Working from home or your office on the phone with no one looking over your shoulder is majorly different than what most are used to. You may be thinking to yourself, this seems like less stress, more laid back, easy. Many who have been doing telemedicine for some time now would agree with you. But that does not mean that the qualities and responsibilities expected in a clinician go out the window. Let's go over some of the things that we expect from our clinicians. We expect that in all aspects of the consultation, quality care of the patient is the overall goal. We expect that the clinicians we work with will be professional in the way they act, speak, and in completing their documentation. We expect that all clinicians are respectful of their staffing agency, the team at Integrated Support Plus, the team at DME-RX, Health Splash, and most of all, the patient. We expect that once a clinician is assigned to a patient, he is responsible for contacting that patient at the appointed time and completing all needed documentation. A responsible clinician will also be prompt when it comes to responding to emails or telephone calls pertaining to these consultations. We expect the clinician to use their experience, their knowledge, and assessment skills to make wise decisions to best care for their patients. We may touch on some of these expectations throughout the rest of this PowerPoint. Let's run through how the process starts. Through some form of advertising, a patient is made aware that they may qualify for an orthotic brace to help with their chronic pain or mobility issues. The patient then calls and requests an orthotic brace. During that call, the intake team will gather information regarding the type of pain, the type of brace requested, their insurance information, and medical history. The patient's chart is either in DME-RX waiting to be assigned, or the intake team calls Integrated Support Plus and transfers that patient to us. The healthcare support team here at Integrated Support Plus will look into our scheduling database and see what clinician is available and licensed in that patient's state. Based on the patient's availability and the availability of the clinician, an appointment is set for the clinician and patient to speak on the phone so that a consultation can take place. Once the consultation is completed and the clinician electronically signs the reports, the completed reports are then sent to the insurance company for approval. Once approved, the patient should receive their brace in 7 to 10 days. You may be asking, Soraya, where do I document the consultation? I'm glad you asked. DME-RX, or soon to be called Health Splash, is the documentation tool that we use for completing the consultations that you will be performing. This tool gives you the ability to address all exam parameters required by insurance companies, including Medicare. It will even trigger an error if needed information is missing. DME-RX was made in such a way that it helps reduce the risk of payment takebacks due to incomplete, non-compliant documentation. The end result is less DME orders that are vague, incomplete, or non-compliant. The software that is being used is HIPAA certified and has features that are approved by the National Security Agency. User access to DME-RX Health Splash is through a secure internet connection. The password that you use must meet certain strength requirements that are encrypted within the database. Now, some of the slides that I'm going to be showing you will have a glimpse of what will be seen in DME-RX Health Splash. It may look a little different when you actually log in, but there are many similarities, so don't be alarmed if you notice something different when you get started. Now, when a patient has been assigned to you in DMERX Health Splash, you'll be notified by an email that is automatically generated by the system. To view the patients that you have been assigned, you will log into DMERX Health Splash and select My Exams. At the top of the screen, you will have the option to use a filter to see certain types of patients or exams. For example, you may filter any exams that are pending, completed, or in process. You can search for an exam by the patient's name or ID number. Now, this next statement I cannot stress enough. Next to the filter entitled Search Dates, you must always have the All Dates checked off in order to see all of your patients. I will explain in more detail in the next slide. Under the filter portion, this is what the bottom of the screen will look like. Only the patients that you've been assigned will show up. On this page, you will see a brief summary of each patient. The individual patient exams will be color-coded. Green is for pending exams, yellow are for exams in process, and blue is for completed exams. Starting on the left-hand side, you will see the patient's ID number, the patient's name, their date of birth, the state they live in. Now notice the posted date section. This is what I was talking about before and why checking off all dates in the above filter is so important. The search date filter covers when the patient was first inputted into the system, not when they were assigned to you. There are some patients who've been in the DMERX system for a while, but getting in contact with them has been difficult. Different clinicians may have been assigned, or an emergency came up where the patient was not able to speak on the phone at the appointed time. There may be a variety of reasons. Let's say that the patient was first posted 60 days ago. If you filter to only see your patients for today or the past 10 days or the past 30 days, a patient who was inputted 60 days ago is not going to show up on your screen, and you will miss an appointment. So again, always check off all dates in the filter. The appointment time that was scheduled with the patient will be under the Scheduled Appointment, Central Standard Time, or CST. Now, the system does not allow us to change or remove the Central Standard Time zone. So please disregard this and pay attention to the time and the state that the patient lives in. The time that is documented in this section is for the time zone of the patient. Under the section entitled Clinician, you will see your name. To get started, you will click on the patient's name. The patient's information obtained during the first initial call by the intake team will be here. Under the section entitled Notes for Examining Clinician, you will find important information regarding the best time to contact a patient, or additional phone numbers, or other information that you need to be made aware of regarding the record. Other information that you may find here is the type of pain the patient is having, the brace they are requesting, or the brace code. You will also find the scheduled appointment time for this particular patient. Below that will be a call log where you can enter notes to log each unsuccessful attempt to reach the patient. When you document an unsuccessful attempt, make sure to document the date and time you attempted to call the patient, whether you left a voicemail, there was no answer, or it was busy, whatever, and then document your initials. Make sure that you click the Save Entries button at the top of the screen when you are done, so that what you have documented in the call log is saved. You may also see notes made by healthcare support regarding attempts to contact the patient to make an appointment. If you happen to reach a patient who does not speak English, document this in the call log and save the entry. Further down on the same screen, you will see this. Here you will see patient information that you can use to verify that you are speaking to the correct patient. Also, in the top left corner, you will see where you will enter the date of the exam or consultation. On the bottom of the screen, under the clinician supplier and clinician group information, you will see a release exam button. Under no circumstances should this button be used. This is a feature that has been improperly used, which has created a problem. It does not allow the chart to be reviewed or properly completed. This function is only to be used by those who have received permission from provider support. When you are completed with this screen, you can click the Patient Intake button down at the bottom on the left-hand side. On the Patient Intake screen, you will find information that you can review prior to speaking with your patient. It will detail the nature of the complaint, the severity, and a snapshot of their history. You can review this portion with your patient. Image studies are not included as these patients are dealing with chronic pain rather than acute problems. The intake team will have listed the HCPCS brace codes for the device that the patient has requested or was discussed with them. You will find this in the complaint field at the top of the screen or the section entitled Other at the bottom of the page. We work with different suppliers and marketers. Each one may supply the same braces or different ones. It is important to only use the codes that are supplied to you in the complaint field when you are prescribing a brace. There will be a portion of the exam where there will be an area where you can document if the exam is declined by either the patient or the clinician. If the patient hangs up on you, or they no longer want the orthotic brace, or the patient states they already had a consultation and was approved for or received their brace, you will select the checkbox indicating that the patient has declined. Detail the reason given by the patient. Select Preview and Sign Documents. Compensation is based on a completed orthotic brace consultation. Towards the beginning of the exam, you will see the patient's chief complaint. Usually, the areas of pain will be auto-populated and a template for each area will appear within the exam. If it is not auto-populated, you can check them off at this time. An assessment must be done for each complaint. Let's say that 3 areas are checked off to examine, but the patient states that they don't need a brace for that one area, or is not having any pain there. You can deselect that complaint and keep the other complaints checked. The system will not prompt you to complete that particular template. Because it may be documented during the intake portion that the patient requested a brace for a certain area, it would be a good idea to document in a comment or notes box that the patient is not requesting it now. When you preview and sign documents at the end of the template, this complaint information will be excluded. Let's say you have completed the assessment for ankle and the patient states that they do not need or want an ankle brace. You may check the appropriate box indicating that an orthosis for that area is not appropriate. In the dialog box, you may state that the patient refused the orthotic because he states he is not having any pain or something to that nature. In this case, when you preview and sign documents, this complaint information will be included as assessed, but denied based on the reason you indicated in the dialog box. Once you get to the actual body of the assessment, you will see that it is very systematic. It will walk you through the information that is needed for each portion, whether it is for the knee, back, shoulder, etc. You will go over any current treatments that the patient is undergoing to help alleviate the pain. You will check off why the brace is beneficial, the goals, when to start using the brace, and some other areas that are needed for the documentation to be completed. Be very detailed in your documentation. There are areas where you can document any extra information that you feel is pertinent. You will have the option to prescribe a brace based on your examination and assessment, or choose that the brace is not appropriate. Depending on the chief complaint, the insurance company may require some tests to be performed for the claims to be approved. For instance, if the patient complains of knee pain and is requesting a knee brace, 2 out of the 4 available tests must be done. One of these tests that can be done over the phone is the pivot shift test. You will caution the patient to stabilize themselves holding onto the counter or the back of a chair. They will lift their good leg and stand on the leg they are having difficulty with. Then you will ask them to pivot or twist. A positive result is if the patient's knee gives out while pivoting or twisting, which suggests there is a ligament injury. Another test is the one-legged stand test. A positive test will be if the patient experiences increased knee rotation pain on the weight-bearing leg. A positive test will suggest a meniscal tear. We are not saying that these tests are absolute, but they do give a good view into what is going on with the patient's condition. Towards the end of the exam, you can make any additional recommendations for the patient. This is where you can also document regarding the patient who originally requested 3 braces or 2 braces, but stated they didn't want 1 out of those 2 or 3. Once the exam is completed, you will complete some acknowledgments. Please check off the following acknowledgments at the end of the exam. At this time, you will have completed the exam and you are now ready to preview and sign the exam. Do this by clicking Preview and Sign. Your exam will be converted into a detailed written order, the exam notes, and a letter of medical necessity. After you have reviewed these documents, you can electronically sign these documents with your login password. Once this is done, you can review the documents again, and you will see your electronic signature at the bottom of the reports. Let's say that down the road you wanted to add information that you feel is pertinent to a patient's record, but you've already completed the record. You would click on that patient's chart and click on View Final Documents. Scroll down the page and click Add Exam Addendum Notes. This will open up a section where you can document any further notes, authenticate it, and this will be added to the chart. If you have been sent a request asking you to clarify information on a record that has already been completed, you can log into DMERX and you will automatically be sent to this screen. Here you can either complete the addendums or continue on with your pending exams. If you choose the latter, a notification will be shown above the pending exams on the left-hand side where you can, at a later time, click View Exam Addendum Request. To open the addendum, you will click on the patient's name. On the addendum request page, you will see the screen on the left. There will be messages from the supplier and a message box for you to send any messages. When you click Go to the Addendum entry page, you will see the screen on the right, where you can enter any clarifying information that is needed. Once saved, the supplier will receive notification that you have completed this addendum. Clinicians will be responsible for inputting and updating their availability schedule through the provider resource website. Your availability should consist of a minimum of 5 days a week, including weekends. Your availability should also include a minimum of 3 to 4 hours per day. Those hours can either be split up throughout the day or consecutive. If there are any changes that need to be made to the existing schedule, these requests should be made at least 2 weeks in advance. Based on the clinician's availability, appointments for consultations will be set. Appointments can be seen in DME-RX. Routine monitoring of these appointments should be done, as appointments may be booked throughout the day. Once a consultation has been assigned, you will receive a notice from DME-RX or Integrated Support Plus. It will become the responsibility of the clinician to contact the patient at the appointment time that was made. Monitor your queue and your email during the times that you have stated that you are available. Make sure that you are filtering your queue properly. Check off in process and pending. You don't really need to see the completed ones. In the search dates, check off all dates. Check to see if you have a second page of exams. If you, the clinician, miss an appointment, a notification will be sent to your staffing agency, who in turn will contact you. A missed appointment by the clinician will result in a back charge. Healthcare support will attempt to contact the patient and either reschedule or reassign the consultation. When this happens, the patient's chart will be removed from your queue and you will not be able to access the chart. Our main concern is that the patient receive the care as soon as possible. If the clinician has 3 missed appointments in a week, the clinician will be suspended from receiving any other consultations pending a conference call with provider relations. If the patient misses the appointment, the clinician must document in the call log this unsuccessful attempt to contact the patient. Make sure you save the entry. If we do not see any documentation in the call log, we will assume no attempt was made and it is a missed appointment. It goes back to what was learned in medical school. If it's not documented, it didn't happen. Our support staff will then follow up with the patient to reschedule and notify the clinician of the new appointment. When a new appointment has been made, we will attempt to keep the same clinician assigned, but a new clinician may have to be assigned to this patient due to the availability of the original clinician. Again, our main concern is that the consultation is completed as soon as possible. You can use something similar to this greeting when either starting out your call or if you have to leave a message. Hi, my name is Dr. Soraya with Healthcare Support. I understand that you are having some pain in your back and knee area and have requested a brace. I will need to ask you several questions, but it won't take long. The following questions you may be wondering about. When do I get paid? You need to speak with your staffing agency. Do I get paid for making attempts to reach the patient? No. Payment is only obtained when a consultation with a patient is completed. Please note, it is very important to document each unsuccessful attempt to reach the patient in the call log box on the first screen of the patient file. Otherwise, to the scheduling supervisors, it appears that no efforts have been made to reach the patient. Do I get paid for each brace that is ordered? No. Payment is per consultation. That consultation may include 1, 2, 3, or 4 braces. If you have any questions prior to or after you start to perform consultations, You may want to review the PowerPoint presentation you just finished watching. You can also review the frequently asked questions located on the Provider Resource website. You can also ask your point of contact with the staffing agency you are employed with. Or you may use the Help Desk feature located on the Provider Resource website. This feature will allow you to fill out and submit a ticket to the appropriate resource who will respond to your inquiry.